and rain was drumming against the roof and windows like an ominous beat. They woke up in sweat, their hearts pounding in unison with every lightning that tore through the sky. A chance break in the clouds allowed the moon to briefly shimmer, illuminating the landscape in a play of light and shadow. Under its glow, the group observed the waves of the sea crashing against the shore, as if trying to drag it into the abyss. An ancient porcelain lantern they had found in an abandoned fisherman's cabin flickered with a weak light, casting ghostly shadows on the walls. They gathered in the living room, sitting around a table cluttered with maps, notes, and artifacts they were destined to uncover. The forces of nature marked their path, reminding them that the island was not only mysterious but also a perilous place. Swift winds seeped through cracks in windows and doors, as if attempting to contribute their part to this incredible puzzle. Storm lightning illuminated the room with bright flashes, casting eerie shadows on the walls and resembling the hand of a great timekeeper, counting down the final moments of their stay on the island. Amidst the wind's tumult, they heard strange sounds, as if something was prowling around the house. Unseen footsteps, rustlings, and wails filled the air, and the lightning, like torches, illuminated the ominous forest beyond the windows. During this tempestuous time, the group realized that the storm and calamity were integral to the island, its character, and its history. They understood that only by unraveling the island's enigma and comprehending its nature could they find a way back to the world they knew. Meeting on the tiniest beach, the survivors swim to the shore, their strength fading, while the storm continues unabated. They choose the smallest beach within a sheltered cove to wait out the night. Under the starry sky, they gather around a small campfire, trying to warm themselves and find solace in their shared misfortune. As the fire breaks through the darkness, the survivors can finally make out each other's faces. They are all strangers, each with their own history and background. The ship's passengers make up a diverse group: David, a former soldier; Emily, a young student; Tom, an experienced sailor; Linda, a businesswoman; Mark and Anna, a young couple; Max and Elsa, quiet siblings. By morning, the storm subsides, and the sun begins to illuminate their tiny island. They inspect their meager supplies, a bit of provisions, a little water, but the hope for rescue still feels alive. The group starts discussing their survival options and action plan. With time, night descends upon the island, and fear of the unknown starts to grip the group. They tell each other scary stories, attempting to distract from their own worries, as the night promises to be long, and the sounds of the jungle around them begin to seem unusually ominous. In the first days after the shipwreck, the group began to explore the island, and their attention was drawn to strange and unusual events. Waking up in the morning, they noticed that the beach they found themselves on was covered in peculiar tracks. The tracks resembled circles arranged in spirals, as if someone or something had moved around. They were deeply impressed by these enigmatic imprints, yet they couldn't explain them at that point. During their walks through the forest, they stumbled upon an ancient altar placed in a very peculiar location. The altar was adorned with drawings and symbols that they couldn't recognize. They sensed that this place was special, as if it radiated some mysterious energy. At night, in their makeshift shelters, they heard mysterious sounds, resembling rustles and noises, despite the fact that there seemed to be no one else on the island besides them. Their flashlights often flickered, as if in response to these sounds, which only added to the mysteries. These initial signs of the unusual left the group puzzled. When the team found tracks in the sand but couldn't determine if they were human, the group debates whether to search for the source of the whispers and strange sounds or continue hoping for rescue. The mood grows tense, and the first cracks start to appear in their unity. The explorers set off along the shore, hoping to find something that would help them make sense of what was happening. Suddenly, Amidst the trees, they discover the ruins of an abandoned hut. The group enters inside, where they find the diary of the previous inhabitant of the island. The diary tells of strange events occurring on the island. Reading the previously found diary, they learn from the author's words that strange and frightening phenomena begin to occur on the island at night. Night descends upon the island, and the group gathers around the fire, but this darkness feels more ominous. They again hear strange whispers, which start to sound more distinct and eerie. Everyone looks at each other nervously, and their unease grows. Emily starts suffering from nightmares. She wakes up in cold sweat, claiming to have seen some creature pursuing her through the darkness. Her account evokes mixed feelings. Some group members believe it's just a dream, while others doubt it. The night sounds become even stranger and more incomprehensible. Rustles that previously could have been explained by animals now sound more dreadful. Tom claims to have seen a dark figure moving in the distance at night. Others start to worry that they are not alone on the island and begin discussing possible explanations for such observations. With each passing minute, tension on the island grows, threatening their unity and peace. The first days after the shipwreck were filled with uncertainty and fear, and the group felt increasingly isolated. Disagreements arose about the best way to survive and what to do next. On one of the days, while discussing plans, a conflict arose between Liam and Emily. They couldn't come to a consensus about resource distribution, and the argument escalated into a heated quarrel. This fueled an atmosphere of dissatisfaction and discord within the group. Moreover, some started harboring suspicions about what secrets the island might hold. Individual group members claimed to have seen shadowy figures and heard vague rustlings at night. This added to the collective anxiety and inner fear. The slightest misunderstandings led to disputes, and the sense of trust began to wane. The group started to split into smaller factions, each trying to protect their interests and voice their opinions. This tension began to affect the overall atmosphere, and each group member began to question the motives of others. They realized that if they didn't find a way to overcome these disagreements and internal conflicts, it could seriously impact their ability to deal with the unusual events occurring on the island. The group decides to spend the night on the beach to try to understand what is really happening. They light a fire and gather around it, ready to observe the surrounding events. Emily suddenly freezes as she thinks she sees movement in the dark trees. She stares intently but sees nothing, only vague shadows and moonbeams shimmering through the branches. Her heart starts beating faster. Fear grips the group, and they decide that it's time to get to the bottom of what's happening. They embark on a nighttime expedition to uncover the source of the sounds and see what truly lies within the jungle. The island isn't as straightforward as it initially seemed. They've become actively engaged in deciphering the riddles tied to these unusual events. Gathered at their temporary campsite, they spread out maps, notes, and artifacts before them. Everyone is focused, trying to find connections and patterns in what they've discovered. The symbols, tracks, and artifacts appear to be some kind of keys to unlocking the mystery, but they can't quite figure out how to correlate them accurately. Emily sits at the table, immersed in studying the ancient writings and symbols. She's attempting to decode the messages and understand how they relate to the island. Each symbol, each line could be a key to understanding the past and present. David examines the glowing amulet they found in the woods. He traces his fingers over the engraved runes, trying to fathom what forces might be linked to this artifact, envisioning how it could be used to unravel the island's enigma. Meanwhile, Sophia and Mark discuss their observations about the glowing crystal from the cave. They speculate that the crystal might hold the key to some parallel reality or world that they haven't fully comprehended yet. They exchange conjectures constantly, making assumptions and attempting to establish connections between all their findings. Each of them brings a piece of the puzzle, and only by uniting their knowledge and efforts can they hope to unveil the island's secret. Emily recalls having seen similar symbols in the diary and in her dreams, both of which they found in the hut. She searches for records describing these symbols as part of ancient rituals tied to mystical phenomena. They all conclude that the island has a long and unexplored history. A debate ensues about what to do next. Some believe the symbols to be mere coincidences, while others argue they might be connected to what's occurring on the island. Disagreements intensify, and their unity continues to erode. Despite their differences, they decide to try and gather more information about the symbols. After prolonged discord and disputes, they come to a single conclusion: to venture into the jungle, hoping to discover any traces left behind by the island's previous inhabitants or other indicators of phenomena related to the symbols. Deep within the jungle, they come across an ancient altar covered in mysterious writings and symbols. Emily and David attempt to decipher the inscriptions, but it proves more challenging than they anticipated. The group delves further into the enigmatic symbols, and their fear escalates. At night, they dream of the symbols coming to life, surrounding them, and creating a mystical atmosphere. Emily turns back to the diary once more, hoping to find a clue about the symbols. She comes across an entry where the island's previous inhabitant mentions the symbols as the key to deciphering the mystical forces of the island. The group begins to feel that they're facing something much larger than just strange sounds and symbols. During one of their walks, Emily and Mark stumble upon ancient ruins hidden among the trees. Before them unfolds a scene as if they've been transported into the past. Statues, sculptures, and wall paintings depicting events unfamiliar to them. While exploring, they find a tome written in an ancient language that they begin to decipher. It describes ancient rituals linked to summoning the forces of nature and magic. Sophia and David discover an underwater cave where they find artifacts and documents related to the enigmatic ritual of the fusion of darkness and light. They realize that the island was a sanctuary for ancient rituals. Soon, they uncover records that talk about the rift between worlds, the horrors it could bring, and how the ancient island inhabitants sought to maintain a balance between these forces. This begins to piece together the puzzle. A labyrinth of stone walls covered in the same mysterious symbols appears in their path. As they venture deeper, orientation becomes more challenging. Every surface is adorned with these enigmatic runes, creating the sensation of being inside an ancient book or map. In the depths of the labyrinth, they discover a chamber adorned with frescoes depicting ancient rituals and people worshipping unknown deities. These images appear so vivid that, for a moment, the group feels as though they're standing next to the figures depicted on the walls. At the center of the chamber stands a massive mirror, but its reflection is distorted and doesn't correspond to reality. As Emily approaches, she sees not her own reflection, but that of another girl, similar to her but clearly from a different era. The mirror seems to be showing the island's past. Max and Elsa begin to hear faint voices whispering in their ears. Though invisible, the words become clearer. The voices attempt to communicate something, but they don't understand a word. As the voice speaks in an ancient language, possibly the same language as the strange symbols they've been finding, but is it really? After exploring the labyrinth, the group returns to their shelters, overwhelmed by what they've witnessed. They discuss their impressions and share the visions they've seen with each other. Everyone feels that they're getting closer to unraveling the mysteries of the island. Studying the diary, they discover entries about an ancient island inhabitant who witnessed significant events and tried to leave records for future generations. The diary points to a location on the island where mystical forces might be concentrated. The group decides to head there, hoping to gain a fuller understanding of the island's past and present. Filled with determination, the group decides to venture to an ancient temple mentioned in local legends. They hoped to find answers to their questions inside the temple. The ancient temple was situated deep within the island, amidst dense forests and towering trees. The journey to reach it was arduous. They had to navigate thick undergrowth, cross turbulent rivers, and spend nights under the open sky. When they finally reached the temple, they beheld monumental doors adorned with symbols and runes. They sensed that before them stood something majestic and ancient, exuding magic and secrecy. Inside the temple awaited an indescribable atmosphere. Light filtering through tall windows created a play of light and shadows on the walls, resembling ancient tales. Arches and columns looked like remnants of bygone eras, preserving numerous stories. Ancient drawings and images were scattered along the temple walls, from which the group tried to extract knowledge. Emily stood before a large drawing depicting the merging of two opposing forces. She began deciphering symbols and words, attempting to grasp its connection to current events. Sophia, David, and Mark ventured further and found a room filled with amulets, runes, and relics. In the temple, they began to witness vivid visions from the past, rituals, ceremonies, and moments that unveiled the island's secrets. Suddenly, in the shadows, they discern movement, and someone or something hides in the darkness. Inside the temple, they encounter an entity teetering between reality and the mystical realm. This creature is a result of ancient rituals, its form distorted over time, and it's searching for those who can free it. Convinced that they weren't alone on the island, the group decided to attempt contact with the force or presence that seemed invisible yet influential in shaping their fate. They gathered around a campfire, illuminating the night sky, and began a ritual they had developed based on their research and observations. Lighting candles, arranging artifacts and runes, they tried to build a bridge between the world they lived in and the realm of the island's mysteries. Emily, feeling a special connection to the ancient writings, began reciting prayers and symbols they had found. She sought to establish a connection with the spirits of the island's past inhabitants, hoping to hear their voices. Holding the glowing amulet, Mark closed his eyes and concentrated, attempting to sense any presence or energy around him. He imagined the amulet's light merging with other magical sources on the island. Sophia and David created a meditative atmosphere, focusing on their breath and trying to connect with the island's nature. They aimed to feel the energy that could aid them in making contact. As they continued the ritual, strange sounds started to emerge around them, rustling, whispers of the wind, the crackling of twigs. They sensed something moving around them, something unseen but palpable in the air. The attempted contact filled their hearts with both hope and fear. They realized they were playing with forces beyond their comprehension. Nevertheless, they were ready to embark on this risky journey into the unknown to finally understand who or what lay behind all this mysterious magic. After the contact attempt, the group felt that their efforts had been heard. They decided to persist and try to establish a deeper connection with the entity that might provide them with answers. They named this entity Illyria, the ancient spirit of the island, the guardian of its secrets and powers. Emily suggested this name based on the ancient records and symbols they had studied. Gathering around the campfire once again, they conducted a more powerful ritual, inviting Illyria to share its story with them. They repeated prayers, enigmatic words, and symbols, creating a bridge between worlds. Gradually, something stranger and more unsettling began to happen around them. The wind suddenly ceased, and the air filled with an energy they couldn't explain. The campfire blazed brighter, and it seemed as if the world around them stood still, as if awaiting something significant. And suddenly, images and sounds began to appear in there. They saw the ancient island inhabitants performing rituals and ceremonies. They heard words blended with the sounds of nature, weaving a cohesive tapestry of history.